Hello and welcome to Business Arena on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Join me for the latest business headlines of the day. Hungary has kept its key interest rate unchanged in December. This decision was prompted by growing inflation as well as a weak forint. Borrowing costs were kept stable at 6.5% for the third consecutive meeting and currently stand joint highest among EU member states. The move was influenced by accelerating inflation, which hit 3.7% in November, moving away from the government's 3% target. This year's weak performance of the Hungarian forint against major currencies also weighed on the decision. Poland has drastically increased the import of fertilizers from Russia, benefiting from their cheaper price. However, the country, as well as a few Baltic states, are aware of the danger this brings and is calling on the EU to act.
Poland and many other European countries have managed to wean off Russian gas imports. However, while this may be true on paper, Russia is successfully exporting one of its biggest earners in the form of fertilizer.
The cheaper price in Russia means the fertilizers are based on the natural gas, so main feedstock for the production of fertilizers, make the fertilizers price really cheaper than fertilizers price of Polish producers or the other European producers.
Even though natural gas prices have fallen from their 2022 peak, natural gas, one of the two main components of nitrogen-based fertilizers, is 6 times cheaper in Russia than in Europe, allowing Russian producers to undercut any price offered by Polish or other European manufacturers. While Russian fertilizer has been flowing into Poland for years, this year its share has increased drastically. In the first 9 months of 2024, Poland imported 140% more Russian fertilizer than during the same period in 2023, costing 318 million euros, equivalent to a third of the total value of imports. Additionally, fertilizer from Russia is not only flowing directly to Poland, but also entering the country via third-party nations. While weaning off Russian fertilizer will not be easy, Tomasz Zieliński stressed that there are several alternatives that could be used instead.
We have ports, we have a lot of connections to other markets. So, of course, Russia is a really big producer, but it's not just the one producer in the world. We can import from any other places, even from Canada, even from US, even from some other places, but not to be dependent on them.
Poland is leading this effort, and along with Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia, has called on the EU to increase tariffs on Russian and Belarusian fertilizers to 30%. However, more steps are needed.
Let's say the taxes case, that's the first big step. They can help a lot. Then the work and revision of sanctions. What could be possible to put the sanctions on table? Difficult, yes, but let's try to do it. Third step could be a revision of sanctions for companies and for persons on a sanction list.
Zieliński emphasized that taking these actions is crucial, as Russia aims to monopolize the market and put local producers out of business. And once it achieves that, it will dramatically increase prices.
Poland's fertilizer giant Azoty Group has been battling the presence of cheap Russian and Belarusian fertilizer for a while now, domestically and in Europe. But by the looks of it, these are not the only problems plaguing Azoty Group. There's more to come on the bottom line, so stay with us after the news. Poland's investment in research and development reached new heights last year. According to a new report from the Polish Development Fund, R&D spending hit 11.7 billion euros in 2023. But while the growth is significant, the country still trails behind the EU average.
In 2004, Poland spent only 0.5% of its GDP on research and development. In 2023, this value rose to almost 1.6%, a growth of almost 1,000% in nominal terms. What is more important, Polish businesses also found a way of monetizing all this R&D.
High-tech exports have been growing steadily since 2007. This growth isn't just in volume, but also in their share of Poland's overall goods exports. It shows that we're not only investing in innovation, but becoming a significant exporter of high-tech solutions.
The private sector leads Poland's R&D drive, contributing €7.5 billion, or 65% of the total expenditure. However, while Poland is making strides, it still lags behind European leaders like Sweden, which spent 3.57% of its GDP on R&D last year.
The problem is that Polish enterprises invest too little, particularly when compared to the rest of the European Union, not just in new technologies, but overall. Researchers show that while businesses recognize the benefits of digitalization, they often consider implementation costs too high.
Despite these hurdles, Poland's innovation sector continues to grow. R&D expenditure has risen every year since 2017, and the gap with the EU average is narrowing. On a per capita basis, Poland spent €318 on R&D in 2023, far below values from European leaders like Denmark and Sweden, which spent 6 times as much. With private enterprises driving growth and high-tech exports on the rise, the foundations are there. But to catch up with Europe's leaders, Polish companies will need to boost investment and embrace innovation at a faster pace.
Ukraine is open to using its pipeline network to carry natural gas even after the transit agreement with Russia's Gazprom expires, the Ukrainian Prime Minister has said. The announcement comes on the back of a series of developments which threaten energy security in Eastern Europe.
And not everybody is happy, including Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico, who recently met his Ukrainian counterpart to find a solution. Denis Shimal was open to solutions, but stated the following on Telegram after their meeting Monday.
If the European Commission formally approaches us about the transit of any gas other than Russian, we are prepared to negotiate in the interest of EU energy security.
There are suggestions floating around about using Ukraine's pipelines to transit gas from Azerbaijan, but analysts warn that much of the gas coming down would be of Russian origin anyway, as Azerbaijani deliveries would necessarily involve a swap with Russia. Either way, no new deals exist for the moment, but the energy pinch is being felt right now. Moldova has just declared a 60-day state of emergency for the energy sector.
If the winter is harsher, then we expect we might face serious problems with security supply, including gas shortages and electricity shortages.
Slovakia is also feeling the pinch. It has a long-term contract with Gazprom on which it relies quite heavily. Its economy minister, Denisa Sakova, said earlier in Brussels that European countries and companies had a combined demand for around 15 billion cubic metres of Russian gas next year via Ukraine, but alternatives are yet to be found. Austria and Hungary are also in danger, but Bloomberg is reporting that Budapest has made a deal with Sofia, and deliveries will continue through Turkey despite US sanctions. Overall, besides Moldova, experts do not see any serious shortages on the horizon for Central Europe.
Our assessment revealed that there is enough non-Russian available capacity to replace all Russian gas supply in the region. It would create shocks, it would probably increase prices, but physically it is possible.
Either way, despite the fact that the EU gas imports through Ukraine have declined since the outbreak of the full-scale war, they still constitute 4% of the total, and with less than 2 weeks of deliveries remaining, the scramble to find alternatives is ramping up.
And that's all for our business news updates today. For more business stories, check out tvpworld.com.